Hello, everyone, and welcome to Elevate 21, the future of cloud powered by Spalding Ridge. Thank you for taking the time to join us, as well as help us dive into the topic of really what I would say is the power of data. My name is Kyle Boston. I'm a partner with Spalding Ridge. I help lead our Salesforce as well as our data analytics practice here. I've been in the ecosystem for just over 11 years, working with some really strategic Salesforce and consulting advisory partners throughout my career. I'm fortunate to be joined today by Daniel Barber. Would love to just get a brief introduction from you, Daniel, and thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle, and I appreciate the opportunity from Spalding Ridge. We actually worked together at a company previously named Responsus that was acquired by Oracle. So great to connect the dots again. And my name is Daniel Barber. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called DataGrail, really the leading integrated solution for privacy. And so, yeah, thrilled to kind of talk a little bit about the journey today and how we help, Spalding Ridge clients as well as the ecosystem around SaaS.
That's great. Maybe it'd be great to hear a little bit about how our clients, or really for that matter, any client, works with DataGrail, the services you provide, kind of the capabilities and importance that you see in the marketplace today.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've seen a lot of changes over the last 12 to 18 months, right? I mean, I think digital transformation has accelerated faster than we would have anticipated. But even prior to that, businesses have got to a point, whether they're a mid-sized organization or a Fortune 100, they've got to a point where the number of SaaS applications and infrastructure platforms that they use is pretty unwieldy. And at the same time, you've got consumer expectations around privacy, where consumers now, I spoke on NPR last year on this topic, 83% of Americans want control over their personal information. Simultaneously, you've got governments moving forward with regulations like California's Consumer Privacy Act, GDPR in Europe, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. And most recently, Colorado just passed their regulation that goes into effect 2023. And so what we saw was that businesses accelerating their investment in technology would lead to quite a challenging predicament, because as they invest in technology, it becomes very difficult to even, one, understand the applications that are being used and utilized across the organization, and two, what type of personal information actually exists within those applications. And so we typically see security teams, privacy teams, legal groups, IT groups trying to figure out what have they got, what's in those applications, and how do we fulfill our expectation that the consumer has upon us and our business. And so DataGrail really forms a integrated solution that sits on top of an organization. We have over 900 integrations, including Salesforce and DocuSign and others, that allow an organization to seamlessly fulfill their obligations and ultimately build trust through transparency with their consumer.
I think that's extremely helpful. Oftentimes clients come to us, they're potentially ready to implement the software they've selected. And more times than not, when we get into the thick of things, whether it's discovery and design or whether it's understanding their systems, the biggest question starts coming into, how do you approach your data governance? Or what is the current condition of your data and your systems kind of communication of that data? So I think it'd be helpful to understand maybe your view on, DataGrail as a tool to help clients really start their journey or complete their journey, depending where they're at, on transforming their business. I think it's become ever important given the pandemic and us kind of coming on the other side of that, about how businesses have shifted. The one thing that probably remains the same is data, but I think maybe conditions around that data have changed.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I think what we noticed, and of course, the last 18 months have kind of accelerated this even further. Businesses have established methods and deployed technology to understand the applications they have, right? They may use applications like Okta or One Login or Ping Identity or ForgeRock or other identity management applications. And those systems are great at, ensuring from a security standpoint, everyone has access to the applications that they're supposed to. And perhaps when they're not supposed to, they don't, right? This has existed for quite some time. What we saw and why Okta Ventures actually invested in DataGrail in our Series A and our most recent Series B was because we see a lot of organizations, including Okta customers, with this unknown or shadow IT, right? So while they know that the employees log into Salesforce, they don't know the 25 other applications that people have installed into Salesforce that are not connected to their single sign-on provider, right? So, and I think, through this, customer discovery, we formed this concept of system detection. Because in reality, it's very clear that an organization will have a known set of applications, and then they have a whole bunch of unknown shadow IT. Okta's research suggests that if an organization has been using Okta for 4 years, they actually have 190 applications used across the organization. And that's just the known applications, right? What about all those unknown applications? And the unknown applications increased significantly during this last period because people are at home, they want to install a new communication platform, perhaps, or perhaps an application like this one with Zoom. And so now you've just got this sprawl of unknown applications. And within those unknown applications, personal information that if a consumer were to ask, it does actually need to come out. There has to be that fulfillment of, if I want to ask a business, what information do you have about me? The business does need to fulfill that. Or conversely, I want to delete my information. The business does need to fulfill that. Yep. And so, this system detection concept, and ultimately what we deliver on, which is a live data map of all of the applications that exist, all those that contain personal information, and then vehicles to be able to fulfill the regulatory requirements that I described earlier. This is really a different approach than you'll see in the market. And it's because we saw firsthand that organizations are just, at this point, the business is moving too fast, and they need to have a method of proactively prompting about systems that contain personal information across the organization.
No, I think for me, it's one of the most important things that a client can really embark on, whether they're either working with a partner like us to help understand and provide advisory services around what is your data approach? Do you have current conditions and governance in place? Do you understand the depth and breadth and the expansion of data in your systems, and whether it's a global, whether it's you're acquiring many companies, whether you're consolidating companies, but really the kind of the connector of it all is really the enterprise technologies and cloud solutions that we support. So obviously Salesforce, DocuSign, Coupa for kind of that procurement and sourcing management, also on the ERP side, so NetSuite and others. So I think it'd be helpful to also hear from you and sharing with our clients and those tuning in, how do you work with those enterprise tools and technologies?
Yeah, so uniquely here, DataGrail builds integrations with all of the most commonly used SaaS applications and infrastructure providers. So all of those that you mentioned, we have direct integrations with. You'll find DataGrail on the Salesforce App Exchange. You'll find it on the DocuSign App Exchange, the Oracle Marketplace. We're listed in practically all of the different provider sort of networks. And that's a result of, 1/3 of our customers are publicly traded. So anything from, Salesforce to Restoration Hardware to Overstock.com, businesses of that size leverage DataGrail to ensure that, they can build trust with transparency. But I think, stepping a little bit deeper into that, the way that we've built those integrations is that so they can be deployed without code from our customer. So that's a unique value proposition, because we saw, on a regular basis, companies would deploy, potentially privacy tools, and what they would find is they would need extensive engineering development of their own internal resources to stand up a product. And that just doesn't work in today's environment, right? Businesses want to focus on return on investment, as they naturally should, and growing their business. And, an area around risk, which is what we're talking about today, really needs to be fulfilled by a solution, right? And so we use our engineering development and our resources to deploy in our customer with a no-code deployment. And that's how, we're able to deploy on all of those ecosystems that I mentioned earlier. And, if you think about the Salesforce ecosystem, just as an example, 95% of our customers do use Salesforce, and Salesforce themselves use DataGrail for their privacy program.
Oh, that's great. No, I think, as we look, I mentioned as we've kind of gotten through this pandemic and moving towards a place where I think organizations and corporations and really just anyone from a 10-person company to an enterprise corporation is really looking to maximize ROI and scale. And scaling, whether it's internal, whether it's looking at the technology they're using. The key thing that keeps standing out is data to me. And so you're gonna be hugely important, I think, in the advancement of these implementations, in these transformations of these companies. So with that, I really appreciate you taking the time. Wanted to know if there's anything, last remarks that you have, that maybe you wanted to share a little bit more of how someone can get in touch with you or DataGrail. But again, thank you again for your time today.
Yeah, no, Kyle, really appreciate the opportunity. Lots of common faces, Matt Gorniak, Dan Springer, across the panelists today. And yeah, certainly appreciate the time. If folks do want to get in contact with me, you can find me on the white pages of the internet on LinkedIn. Otherwise, I am on Twitter as well. My username there is actually Gaijin Dan, which is Japanese for foreign person. So there you go. I lived in Japan for a little while. Otherwise, feel free to shoot me an email too, daniel@datagrail.io. But yeah, look forward to chatting again soon, and I think we'll have a great summit.
Thank you, Daniel, and we're looking forward to a closer partnership with you moving forward. You mentioned some of our other speakers coming up in other sessions. We're excited about those as well. But thank you again for your sharing, for really the creation of this company too. I think it's immensely helping our clients as well as the many others out there too. So thanks again.